Hello, everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for So Chatty with another episode. This is episode 26. It is September the 17th, 2021. And today we're going to talk about our big major purchase, which had a whole lot of things that it started. It was a ripple effect. Yes, we bought a long arm, and those of you that have seen Stephen and Walter live and my vlog, An Idiot Quilter, in the past week, know that we have, because I've mentioned it. But today we thought we would talk a little bit about what you go through when you buy something that's that big and that expensive. And but before we do that, I just want to remind you that I am doing a free retreat 1 week from this Saturday coming. So that will be September the 25th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And all are welcome. And if you want the Zoom links for it and you want more details, there is a link in the show note below for an FAQ that tells you all the particulars about the retreat. And there are also the links for the retreat itself and for the cocktail party, the icebreaker cocktail party that we're having on September the 24th, the night before. And that's just for fun for an hour or two. Bring your favorite cocktail and snack. Bring something to show. We'll have a little mini trunk show with everybody that's there. We might play a game or two. And we're just going to get to know the people who are planning to attend. Now, if you can't make the cocktail party, it doesn't mean you can't come to the retreat. That's totally up to you. And as I said, coming to the retreat is kind of on a first come, first serve basis. I have no idea how many people to expect. I've had a few people let me know that they are coming. And right now I'm up to about 40 people. I can accommodate 95. So although it sounds like there's a lot of spots left, time will tell. We'll see what happens on that day. So do click on the link for the FAQ. It's a PDF file that you can download to your computer and read. And the Zoom links are there as well. And they're also in the PDF file. So if you have any questions, just email me. My email address is in the show notes as well. Okay, enough plug for that. Let's go and talk a little bit about our long arm. So, yeah, I've wanted a long arm since I started quilting. Who doesn't want a long arm? I mean, it's going to make your life a lot easier when you're trying to do quilting. I've wanted a long arm because, quite frankly, it's difficult to push that much fabric underneath the throat of your sewing machine. And I do have a big throat, don't giggle. And, but it's really kind of rough on you. You wouldn't think pushing fabric is that heavy. Fabric isn't that heavy, but when you've got 3 layers of it, plus all the stitching and whatnot, it gets quite hard on your body. So a long arm makes your life a lot easier. It also makes your life a lot easier when it comes to layering a quilt. Now, you've probably, those of you that watch The Idiot Quilter, have seen my different setups for layering a quilt. And it basically involves a lot of collapsible tables laid out. And yeah, it's not an easy process. A long arm is going to make that whole process a little easier as well. So why did we decide to buy one now? Well, why did we? Because...
Okay, so there's been, I guess we've been talking about it for quite some time.
Move over a bit, if you can. There. Okay.
I don't know if...
All right.
That's fine. That's sticking in my back. So we've talked about it off and on, and then over time, we've been to shows when we could go to shows. And we looked at the various options, like a sit-down model, or one that's got a smaller frame, or things like that. And then there's like the depth of the throat of the long arm and things like that. Then we've taken some classes over the time too. There's a local long arm store that rents time.
Shout out to Whirls and Swirls, operated by Tracy Russell.
Yeah, and so we've gone there a few times. We've taken a certified course to use the long arm to use pantographs to create using a pantograph to
do the
quilting,
actual quilting,
right?
Yeah.
And we've done that a few times. And then we also decided to take a long arm free motion quilting course. We did that a couple of years ago. And but the problem is that you do the course and it's fine introduction to doing quilting on a long arm, but you don't have a long arm to practice on.
So every time you go in, like you can rent it by the hour. She charges $30 an hour. Usually takes me about 2.5 hours to 3 hours to do a queen size quilt using a pantograph. A pantograph, if you don't know what that is a long piece of paper that you essentially are tracing the design out with a laser light, and it's attached to the needle in the long arm. And as you move the handlebars around on that pattern, it's doing the stitching on your quilt. So it's not really free motion because you are following a pattern, but nevertheless, you're still using the capability of the long arm machine. So, that adds about $100 onto your already costs for fabric and your time onto a quilt. But if you don't go in on a regular basis, you forget how to set it up because they are fairly involved machines. Now, I am sure that once you get into the routine and you've done several quilts, it becomes second nature like anything. But when you're only doing it infrequently, not so easy. Now, Tracy's great where we take them because she'll right there to help you every step of the way if you have a problem. But it's not just the cost, it's the fact that I have to make an appointment to go in and do that.
Not only that, you have other customers in the store who are overlooking what you're
Yeah.
doing, and I don't know about anybody else, but if I'm working on something like even if it's just woodworking or something like that, I hate it when people come up behind me and sort of like
Look over your shoulder.
look over my shoulder because I'm always self-conscious about what I'm doing and if I'm doing it right or not.
And then they start to talk to you. Well, time is money. As they're talking to you, you're not quilting. I mean, I can't talk to somebody and quilt at the same time because I don't have enough experience to be able to do that kind of thing. I have to put my full concentration on the machine. And it's an interruption. You don't want to be rude to these people, but you do want to just say, why don't you just off? Because I'm busy here, okay? Now's not the time to have a major discussion with me about whatever on it. So I found it somewhat stressful because of all of that. I would rather have a long arm in my home where I don't have to make an appointment. If I only have an hour to do a little bit of work on it, I can leave it set up on the machine. I don't have to worry about finishing it all in one fell swoop, that kind of thing. However, there are some cons to that because until you get to know your machine really well, if something happens and you don't know how to fix it or to get out of the problem, that could cause you some grief. And I am sure there will be moments like that when we get this long arm, but we will learn from those mistakes.
Okay, now, so part of the problem with selecting, if you decide to get a long arm, is selecting which brand you're going to get, right? Mm-hmm. And we normally buy our sewing machines from a local store, and they sell Janomis, and Janome does offer a long arm version. However, the problem with the Janome long arm is that it's only got a 20-inch throat. Actually, the original one is 18-inch throat. The new one, I think, is a 20-inch throat, which limits your quilting space.
Size matters.
Right? So at first, when we first started doing sewing and we talked about getting a long arm, we did look at the Janome one, but as we started working on these other machines that Tracy sells at Whirls and Swirls, the Janome became less attractive because of the throat size, and we got used to using the APQS machines that Tracy sells. So, I mean, there are other brands of long arms, like there's Handy Quilter and there's Gammo and a few other brands. But we were used to using the APQS machines at Tracy's place, and that's the one we were focusing on purchasing.
And we're not saying that the one that we have purchased is the absolute be-all, end-all of long arm machines, that it's the best. But as Walter said, it's the one we've had the most experience with. We have somebody right here in our local to us who is an expert on them, who knows the ins and outs and the whole bit and is excellent after sales service person as well. So
Well, plus also she is a master quilter herself.
yeah,
She has produced many videos on instructional videos on quilting.
on YouTube,
She has produced
a couple of books.
a few books, which I think she sells through Amazon.
Yeah.
And so she is pretty much an expert, and she is also an APQS dealer. So that's why we ended up choosing the APQS brand, because of the support that's available locally.
And I'll try to remember to put in the show notes the link to Tracy's business, her YouTube channel as well, because even if you're not buying a long arm, or if you already have a long arm, and it doesn't matter whether it's an APQS or whatever, her videos are excellent to help you out with different ways you can quilt a quilt. And her business is called Whirls and Swirls, and I'll try to remember to put that in the show
and
notes.
she also has produced a series of videos of that are on YouTube that go through different quilting patterns that you can do by hand on a long machine.
Yeah.
So now, part of the problem, one of the things that we had discussed when we got to get a long arm was also whether we wanted the computer component that went with the long arm. And Steve at first really wanted to get that
because I'm all about machines.
Because it's kind of nice. You can set it up to do a pattern and let it go when it basically does the pattern.
It does it for you
for each row, and then I think you still have to advance the machine to the next row, but it basically does it all for you. But it's an extremely expensive option.
$10,000 extra minimum.
10,000 US extra.
Yes. So
$1
million Canadian.
Yeah. So I thought, well, it would be good to learn how to do quilting on your own first before. And there's a big learning curve. And actually, although I do garments, I do have an interest in doing quilting. The quilting part of it, I'm not that crazy about doing piecing. So, but I wouldn't mind learning how to do the quilting part of it as well.
I'll piece, he'll quilt. Well, no, I'm going to quilt too. But
I think it would be good to learn how to do that yourself. And I think you would end up with a much more custom product if you do that rather than having the machine do it.
It's also art. So if a machine is doing it for you, is that art? Yes, your final product's going to look good and it's going to be pretty much perfect. But as Walter says, it's not really you, is it? It's the machine that's doing it.
Now, we can get a similar look if we use a pantograph.
Yeah. If you use a pantograph.
You use a pantograph, then it's not as perfect as what the machine will give you, but a computer will give you. But it'll give you a pretty comparable option that you can do. And now we have that capability on this machine to do that. So
well, it's not just though that we're buying a long arm quilting machine so that we can quilt quilts. We're also buying it because it extends the art form a little bit. Because you're doing free motion quilting on it, because you're learning how to do that, you are doing, as Walter called it, customizations. Now, at first, I am sure it's going to be nowhere near perfect. But, I've been doing a lot of this on my own domestic machine, and although that's a little different technique, I've gotten better with practice. And I think the same thing will happen with the long arm. Well, I don't think, I know it's going to happen with it, with each quilt. I think one of the things is that people have a fear of wrecking their quilt. And I've talked about this before on the Idiot Quilter, because I had it too. You do all this piecing, it looks really good, and then you're afraid of screwing it up by doing some kind of horrible quilting job on it. And that's why a lot of people will send their quilts out and have a professional long arm quilter finish their quilt for them. But my problem with that is I don't feel it's all now mine. If I was to do that, I don't feel that the entire quilt is mine. And I think better, and I know some people hate this expression, better done than perfect. But let's face it, if somebody else is finishing it for you, it is no longer your quilt. I'm sorry, it is not your total creation. You co-create it with somebody else, with the long armor. And I don't like that. I'm kind of selfish that way. My work for better or for worse, it's still my work. And I can say to people, I did that myself. And the fact is, too, like I said, with a little bit more practice, yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it's not going to look that bad. I have found that some of my quilting that I've done, I started out going, oh, I'm making a mess of this. Turned out okay. I know where the mistakes are, but you never point those out to other people. And you never show it to someone like Walter, because he'll find the mistake within 30 seconds.
So when we came to decision of so we've been talking about doing this for quite some time, but I mean, a lot of it's the cost because and where to put it.
Yeah, the two factors, cost and where you're going to put it, because these suckers are big.
Right. So we had thought at one point in time about putting it in an area of a recreation room that we don't use a lot, but it's sort of right in the middle of our finished area. And
it would have filled it.
Yeah. So what we decided, what happened was a few weeks ago, we got a note from APQS, which they send us, we're on their mailing list. They send us notes about when they have a sale on. Sometimes it's for, demonstrator models or used models.
Well, it's not really from APQS directly. It's from Tracy.
No, it's from APQS.
I thought it was from Tracy.
No, I get it directly from APQS.
Oh, okay, fine. You're special.
Okay, I don't get anything from Tracy.
Okay, you're not that special.
So anyway, so APQS sends this out. And so they had a promotion on one of their medium machines. And it was pretty good promotion. So we started talking about it.
Well, it's the second from the top, isn't it?
No, it's third from the top.
Oh, what's between the Lucy
and
the
the bottom of the line one is called a Lenny, and it has a 20-inch throat, right?
Yeah, okay.
And the next one up is the Lucy, and it has the 26-inch throat. Then there's the Freddie with Freddie.
Oh, Freddie. Okay, I forgot.
Then there's the 26-inch Millie, which is sort of their top of the line model, but they've since introduced a 30-inch Millie.
Okay,
so,
fine.
But anyway, so it's more. I don't really call it bottom of the line because the difference between the Millie and the Freddie and the Lucy is there's a few more automated features on the more upper models, and ours is a more of a manual model, I guess, if you say.
According to Tracy, the Lucy is probably one of the most popular models in the APQS line because of the features that it has. And when you go beyond the Lucy, you're starting to get features that you can live without. For example, a signal telling you your bobbin is running out. I think there's a thread break warning or something. Right. Okay, yeah, those are nice features to have, but we have used machines, the Lucys, and we've run out of thread in the bobbin, but you learn when to check. You get an approximate idea of how much bobbin thread you're going to need. And if you run out, you'll know very soon when you run out. And it's not that difficult to backtrack and, after you've put a new bobbin in and to start off where you left off with it. It can be done. It's not a biggie. So I think for the next model up, we were looking at it for those two features on it, and I don't know what else it had.
Well, it had the automated channel locks.
Oh, the electronic channel locks.
Yeah, it has more electronic features, and it has some.
But it was $6,000 more.
It's $6,000 US more.
Yeah,
which for us is more like $8,000.
Yeah,
so
or $9,000.
And we thought that the spread was just too much.
Yeah,
and so we could live with the price that the Lucy was, and with the bonus features that came with this promotion that they've got, the Lucy price also includes a more upgraded table, which is usually a $2,000 edition, and it included an automatic quilt advance, which is a $1,350 edition, thrown into that package. Mm-hmm. So we thought that was good value and that we should take the plunge. Well, initially we thought we should take the plunge. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started measuring the rooms out. And we started measuring the recreation room where we thought we were going to put it. And then we said, No, this is crazy.
because it would have filled that whole area. And they are big machines. They are not pretty machines. They're industrial looking. And the first thing anybody in our rec room, we have our TV. That's where we entertain when we used to entertain. And yeah, it just, that's all you would focus on.
So then we started talking about it some more, and then we started looking at the expense, and we thought, oh geez, I don't know if I want to spend this much money.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want it to be in that location.
So I'd pretty much resigned myself to the fact that I'll just concentrate on doing my quilts as I have been refining my technique, and you know, down the road maybe we'll get one. But we're not getting any younger, you know.
Yeah.
And then so what happens 2 days later, had this all done, Walter reconsidered.
Yeah, so I started measuring. We have a workshop that's a good, decent length, and that's where one half of it is my workshop, and the other half is
Was my
Steve's
sewing done?
sewing room. And so I got to measuring out that room, and figured that we could probably fit it in there if Steve moved his sewing room out, and I collapsed some stuff on my workshop side.
And this is where the ripple effect fit in. We did some measurements, we measured a lot, and we decided, yep, we're going to buy this. We're going to buy this because, you know, we like to travel, but we haven't been able to travel in almost 2 years now because of COVID and the whole bit. And it looks like we're not going to be able to travel at the earliest, will not be until possibly this time next year, if then. This machine is costing us $22,000. Now we're going to do a breakdown on the cost in a moment.
22,000 Canadian.
Canadian.
Yeah.
But we'll do a breakdown on what that involves in a moment. But that's a lot of money. But the trips that we have been on in the past, well, one of our trips to Australia was a $30,000 trip. Mm-hmm. So travel is not cheap either.
Yeah, by the time you pay for your hotels and your
food, your entertainment,
food, your flight,
your transportation, all of that stuff,
it adds up quickly.
I mean, we don't nickel and dime it, but we don't go first class either with it. So, you know, we go comfortable. So it's not like we're being extravagant when we travel. It's where we're traveling to.
I mean, we still fly in coach and everything else. So.
But we're flying to further away from Canada places in the world, like Australia. That's a long flight. And I mean, someday we might want to go to Japan or something like that. We've been to China. So, you know, we are seasoned travelers as well. But it costs us big money. So over this time of COVID, we have saved a lot of money from not being able to travel, from not going out to eat, which I didn't think we did that a lot. But when you look at it, yeah, we did. And it cost, I mean, a lot of money for all that stuff. So we've been able to sock some money away for this. So we thought, you know, get hit by a bus tomorrow. Let's go for it. It's not going to put us in debt. It is putting a bit of a dent, but it's a dent into money that really was not allocated for anything else either. So we rationalized it and we're getting it. So, and we know where we're going to put it, but that was the problem. Because the workshop and the sewing room in that area that it's going in is a mess. There is a ton, or there was, because I'm using the past tense now, there was a ton of crap in there. Walter is a pack rat in his workshop. In fact, the workshop is not the name that we should even call that part of the room, because really you can't work in that shop with the mess that's in there. There was an old table saw in there, rent it lips, use your words. There was his dad's, that his dad bought when he was a little kid. So when not his dad was a little kid, but when Walter was a little kid, you know, so it's probably over 60 years old.
Yeah, well, my dad bought it secondhand when I was a little kid. So.
I'd be afraid to touch it because that's a finger chopper.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have any safety features.
Yeah, okay.
So, and there is a spot thing, part of the saw that dropped off that I couldn't replace. That was also a safety feature. Mm-hmm. So, but I still used it
He does have another type of saw.
Yeah, I
that
do. But
takes
the only problem that table saw did is if I needed to cut a really big long piece of board,
Yeah, but
like
that doesn't happen often.
no, it doesn't happen often. It's handy to do that.
But
But
anyways, he decided that we were getting rid of that.
and it weighed an absolute ton.
Yeah, it did. He had took it all apart into smaller pieces, and even still, the motor
I
alone on
still
it
don't
was a
know how
ton.
we managed to get it in the house.
Yeah, I don't remember
Well,
when
we got it from my parents' place when I had the small truck,
Yeah.
and dragged it over, and we somehow must
I don't know how we
dragged
got it downstairs. I don't. Well, that was 20
It
years
might have
ago or
come in
so.
in two pieces at
Well,
the
we were
time,
younger
so,
men
yeah.
then, so we were much more svelte then. Ugh. Um, but anyways, out of there, he also had all of his glass from his stained glassing days in there as well, and yeah, a pile of stuff. And on the other half was my sewing room, but my sewing room also had a treadmill in it. Now it was a foldable treadmill, but it was a full size
Yeah,
industrial
it's a
strength.
big sucker, and it was heavy too.
And yeah, so we decided that first of all, I thought that maybe I might give it to somebody for free if we could get it out. Problem is, when I put it together myself at the time because I got it just after I retired. And previously I'd had a treadmill as well, but this one was even bigger. And I did up until about this January use it. And then I just decided I didn't want to use it anymore. But it's been well used, and when we got looking at it, realized
It was in rough shape.
it was in rough shape. It still worked, but just aesthetically speaking, it was in rough, scratched up, whatnot, and pieces were broken. Like not major functioning pieces, but decor parts of it had broken off in time because they were plastic and whatnot. Anyways, nobody'd want it, so Walter dismantled it into little tiny pieces, and that's how we got rid of it. Meanwhile, I had to figure out where all my sewing stuff was going to go. Now, the room we're in right now was my craft room. It is now my sewing room, and you can see behind Walter a little piece of it. You can see my fabric up on the bookshelves, which used to hold crafting supplies, and you can see my embroidery machine. But there's much more. Now, I am going to try to show you a picture here, and I may have to do some adjusting because I've been having a little problem. Oh, that's funny. That picture came up fine there.
Mhm.
Well, okay. Anyways, so that's what the new sewing room looks like. And I'm actually putting together a video series showing you what I just talked about and everything. That'll go up as a special video for the Idiot Quilter in another week or two. I'll also be doing one about the long arm room and putting together a long arm. But before we get to putting it together, let's talk about the actual cost. Okay, we've already said it was on sale for $13,500 American dollars. You got almost $4,000 American in upgrades to it. So that brought the total cost to, including freight. Freight was another $700.
Well, actually, the price was still 13,500. It didn't, even though we got all the extras.
Well, yeah,
in there,
it's not charged for those.
It wasn't charged.
That was
for
part
that,
of the
right?
sale.
But we did have one option that we added that was called the Bliss.
Yes,
table,
the Bliss track,
which is supposedly a track that will give you a little bit more ease in movement. And it was recommended by our dealer to get that.
And that was $1,000 American.
That was $1,000 US as well. So that brought the price up to $14,400
American before freight and which is shipping. And then we have here, because it's coming from the United States to Canada, we had to pay customs and duties and taxes.
Well, and actually, I don't think we actually had to pay any duties. I think all we paid in that is the HST, which is our combination, our federal and provincial sales tax. And to anybody watching in the UK, it's the same as what you call the value added tax.
So anyways, that brought it up to, with all of that, and then converted to Canadian dollars, to 19,600 and some odd.
No, that was before duty.
Was that before duty?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That was before duty. So before duty, 19,600 and change.
Right.
Okay, Canadian dollars. Then we got the duty, and the duty was another about 2,400 Canadian dollars, a little more than 2,400 Canadian dollars. So it brings the total price of what we bought with everything, shipping, duty, taxes, whatever, to just under $22,000 Canadian. Okay, big expense. All right. Now, APQS, and Tracy told us this, and Tracy has been helping us along the way with it too. She's, guided us through it all. She says they are very well organized. There'll be a lady. She's told us she sounds like a 12-year-old girl. I don't think she really sounds like a 12-year-old girl, but her name is Jenny, and she looks after all the sales. And she says you'll be getting an email from Jenny telling you like all the procedures. And yep, we did. And Jenny called as well. And she takes you through every line of the sales receipt of the invoice, and explains it all to you in detail. We're also getting something we didn't mention. We're getting the platform is included in this price for using rulers. If you're doing ruler foot quilting, because you need this platform underneath to support the quilt, because you just can't push a ruler onto top of the quilt because it's like pushing onto a hammock kind of a thing for that. So that was included in all of this as well. Tracy made sure that we were getting that. So that's good. So Jenny took us through line by line on the sales invoice. And then there were two methods that you could pay for it. You could either do a credit card, a major credit card, or you could go to the bank and do an electronically wired transfer of money. Now, I have a Visa card through the Royal Bank here in Canada. Ironically, I do not have an account with the Royal Bank because I hate the Royal Bank for a variety of reasons that I could go into, but it would take you a week to hear it all. But I have their card, and I've had a Royal Bank Visa card for 40 years. Yeah, 40 years. Okay. Now, I wanted to use that card because, one, I had a credit limit on it that would cover the cost of this, so I didn't have to worry about that. And we get points on that card. So I figured might as well take advantage of getting points on it. Also, I could do it over the phone with Jenny. I didn't have to physically go into a bank and do an electronic transfer. I can't do Interact transfer because Interact is only like $3,000 a day or something on my account. So, you'd have to go into the bank to do it. Plus, the bank will charge you to do an electronic wired transfer, and I have no idea how much that costs. But I'll bet you it's not particularly cheap because anytime you're dealing with a bank, they're not doing it for 50 cents. I would say it would probably cost a couple $100, probably for that amount that had to be transferred. So, whatever. So I knew that I better call Visa first and let them be aware that there was going to be this gigantic charge on my credit card, because I knew what they would do. They would automatically block it because they would figure I don't usually make transactions of that size, well, never, on my credit card. And so they would stop it because they were figuring, security. Someone had compromised my card or something like that. So I called them up to let them know this was happening. So I did. Before I talked to Jenny actually about the whole thing. I phoned them up. I got a person. She said, thank you for letting us know. And she says, just give me a moment to enter that into the computer, blah, 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 blah. And thank you so much. And there shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. Great. I said, great, fine. Jenny calls. I give her the credit card number, the whole bit. Guess what? It's turned down. I knew that that was too easy. It was turned down, not authorized. So I had to call up Visa. Now, of course, it's not just a question of when you call these places up. You have to go through the umpteen million different menu choices, and then you have to sit there because they're experiencing a higher than usual volume of traffic on their system, which, because of COVID, well, no, they're always like that. It doesn't matter whether it's COVID or not. Okay, so fine. So it was relatively quick, though. I'll have to say that. It was only 25 minutes, really, I have been on calls that lasted 5 hours, literally. So I get this person, a different one, and I said, okay, this is what's happened. I explained it to her. She says, let me check that. She went and checked. Yeah, the person who took my call entered that in the wrong spot on the computer. That's why security flagged it and stopped the transaction. Oh, thank you very much. I tried to do the right thing to avoid this problem, and now you've just compounded it because you have a stupid employee that hasn't got enough training or doesn't know what the hell they're doing. I was livid. So I waited another 10 minutes. They got me somebody from security. Bottom line there was, yeah, we don't have your identity on file. I said, what do you mean you don't have my identity on file? I've had a Visa, Royal Bank Visa card for 40 years. I'm a good customer. Well, actually, I'm not a good customer because I pay the card off immediately. I pay the card off every week. And they don't like that because they're not making any interest off me, right? I said, so I have to go during a time of COVID. I have to drag my sorry ass into a local Royal Bank branch, and I have to bring 2 pieces of ID with me to prove who I am. So this is getting hairy. So next day, I was right in. First, as soon as the bank opened, walked in, got a guy, told him the situation, and I could see that this was not an uncommon problem because he kind of went, oh, and rolled his eyes. Like, okay, been there before. Yep, head office are a bunch of screw-ups. So anyways, he got on the blower, got it all straightened out, apologized profusely for the problem. I said to him, you're sure now when I call them up and tell them, okay, that should go through, that's not going to blow up again? He said, no, I took his business card just in case. Then I know somebody that I could kill for this, upfront and personal. So I called up Jenny and everything, and yep, it went through, no problem. Yay. That's the first stage. The next stage is shipping. Now, we were told by Tracy that if we were ready to pay for it up front like that, I mean, I think you can finance them as well, that you'd probably get it sooner. And that was the way we were going anyways, because we don't buy things on time and we don't like anything sitting on a credit card, So, yeah, no problem. So, the next stage was to hear from Mike, who's in the shipping. Mike's very efficient. He sent me an email. He told me exactly in the email what to expect, how it all worked with shipping. He said we would get 7 boxes. The heaviest box would be about 120 pounds. A couple of the boxes would be about 10 feet long. Well, that's because you have to do some assembly on these things. And that would be the, what, the support?
Yeah, well, yeah, the length. Well, see, the table that we were getting is a 10-foot long table.
Yeah. So these are the things that hold the table. So yeah, they aren't collapsible. They come in one piece.
Yeah, I looked at Karen Just Get It Done quilts again, and the boxes that she got were the big long ones for the tubes, and then you get 2 end boxes for the ends of the table.
Yeah. Well, Mike sent that all out in an email and explained it. Not only that, he sent a picture. A detailed picture showing all 7 boxes, and he had every box numbered, and he explained below it in a legend what was in each box. He also explains that when the freight company brings it to your door, you should have 2 people in your house to help unload it and get it into your house, okay? So that's fine. He also said that to check the boxes on the outside, if there was any damage on any of the boxes, take a picture of the box, send those pictures to him immediately, and they would look after it. He said you didn't have to open up the boxes and inspect them. Oh, also let the driver know about that so he can note it on his manifesto. And then once you get it into your house and put it together, and there are videos how to put together, and there's supposed to be very good instructions on how to put it together according to Tracy in the box as well. He said also if there's any pieces that are damaged, take a picture of it, send it to us, we'll make it right. So they're very efficient with the whole thing. Hopefully none of it comes damaged. So that's how the shipping works. Now, the next thing we were told is we would be contacted by the shipping company the brokerage company for getting it across the border, because we would have to deal with them directly in terms of how much that costs, the duties, all that kind of stuff that we had to pay. And yep, I got an email the next day from that company, and I got a phone call. In fact, I had just opened the email, just got it, and the phone rang, and it was a lady there for this company, and she went through it with me and explained everything and said that we could pay for it. We could do an interact transfer or wire the money or do I don't know if we could do a credit card. I don't think I could do a credit card, but interact transfer with it. So I checked to make sure that I could do an interact transfer because it was $2,400 Canadian. But yeah, I can do a $3,000 a day on my interact card. So I did that. Easy peasy. Got an email right back from them within an hour telling me, yes, your payment's gone through. Everything's fine. It will be shipped. Guess when it's coming? Monday. This is September the 17th. We're getting it September the 20th. Tracy, when she filled out the initial order with APQS, put in an estimated arrival time at that point of 2 weeks, the 23rd. But she said it'll probably, that's depending on how many they have in stock. It may be a little longer now. In fact, she said on average, it's about 4 to 6 weeks to get it, which we weren't in a rush because we figured, well, that gives us time to get things cleaned up, right, Fordo? Well, no, glad we did it real quick because it hasn't been 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks next Wednesday. That'll be the 23rd. We're supposedly getting it on Monday. Now, they're supposed to call us to let us know, I think the day before, 24 hours before, which will be Sunday, to let us know that you have to expect it, that this big freight truck will be coming with all of these boxes on it. So that's really the process. And they're good. So far, I'm impressed with APQS because of the detail, the clarity of the explanation, the efficiency of their staff, the whole bit. They've taken you through every step of it away. So, yeah, it really couldn't be easier than that, especially when you're getting it from another country as well. So we'll see. We don't have it yet. We'll see. We'll let you know. So that's the order procedure. We talked about the cost and everything like that. And we've talked now about what you can expect when it's shipped. Like I said, 7 boxes. Now we have to put it together. Well, there are videos. It doesn't look that difficult. Like Walter mentioned, just get it
It
done
just
quilt.
get it done quilts on YouTube. Is what's her name?
Karen Brown.
Karen Brown.
She's a local girl. Like she lives
Yeah,
in
she
Toronto.
ordered one, I think last year, and she put a video together that shows her getting it and putting it together. And I think when she pulled there's a big instruction manual that comes
Yeah.
out with the box. And she seemed to, between her and her husband and her son, they didn't seem to have too much of a problem. She
I thought
said,
she put it together herself.
well, no, she had help, her
Oh.
husband and her son.
Okay.
And because you need about two people to put it together.
Yeah, well, that would make sense.
And they said they got it done in 2.5 hours.
Well, Tracy said it would probably take about 3 hours to put it together or so. So, okay, so that's a good thing. Look, I put together 3D printers on a minimal amount of instruction.
Actually, it looks like it's easier than putting together 3D printers.
Good.
It's just bigger.
Yeah, bigger. So that'll be the next stage, and I will videotape that. Videotape, old term. Record the process as well when we do it, to share with you in a future video as well. So that's what we have to expect right now. We are ready for it. We've got the room all cleared out and the whole bit. And after we get it all together and whatnot, then comes the fun part of learning how to use it. And there is a course that's free that Tracy provides. It's an all-day course for anybody who's bought a brand new long arm, and she takes you through what you need to know about adjusting it for whatever. She lets you play on hers as well. She has several different models, so she has a Lucy in the shop. She'll let us play with that, and she'll also talk about maintenance and troubleshooting and all those kind of things. And since we've taken courses with Tracy before, she's an excellent instructor. She's very efficient, very clear. So I think that will be well worth one day of our time to learn all of that. Well, it's an investment, right? You're spending that kind of money in it. You really want to learn how to use it properly.
Yeah, and the one that we're getting, we're not using, we're bought a 10-foot table. I guess if you want to use it for commercial purposes, you kind of need a 12-foot table, because to be able to do a king-size quilt, 10-foot table, we won't be able to do a king-size quilt, but we never really do a king-size quilt.
No.
And we're not in the market of trying to make money on it.
No, well, you're jumping ahead here,
yeah.
so stop that right down. You should look at the notes.
I don't know. I don't look at them.
We are in around here. So anyways, we're going to talk about this business aspect of it in a moment. But yeah, so it's coming. We're definitely committed to this.
It's paid for.
It's paid for. It's there. We just have to get it together. And right now, do we have any apprehensions about this purchase? Do you have any apprehensions?
Yeah, other than money, but I mean, not really.
No, I don't have any apprehensions about it. I mean, when we first started talking about getting this, and we did the initial measurements when we thought we'd put it in the rec room, both of us had a bit of a knot in the pit of our stomach. I did.
Yeah, because we don't like
anyways.
to spend money.
No, we're cheap. Like, you know, I've been saving this money over COVID, and it's like ka-ching, ka-ching. Like, you're looking at it and going, wow. You know, and I had that money earmarked as a trip. We have decided that when we can travel again, we're going to travel in our own country.
When we put down a lot of money on a trip before, we don't seem to get as uptight about spending the money. Whereas with a long arm, it seemed to be a little bit more apprehensive about it. But in actual fact, if you look at it as a trip, then it's
well, it's a staycation.
Yeah,
with quilting, kind of a thing. Now, the other thing too is I was apprehensive about the size of this and where we're going to put it. And I was apprehensive about having to make the room for it because I knew how much was involved for the cleanup. And yes, that was a lot of work. But there's a side benefit to that. It is something we've needed to do for a long time because we're starting to look like hoarders. And, you know, you're watching any of those hoarder shows, you suddenly want to just get a big shovel and clean your whole house out with that. So we got rid of a lot of useless stuff. A lot. of that. And so that was a good thing as well. But we are sore. I'll make no bones about it. We have damaged our bodies, Walter especially. Um, we
Wow, that's because I did something stupid and fell on the
Yeah,
garage.
well,
But
that was real bright, wasn't it? So now, but yeah, I'm still sore. Um, because we were using muscles, we don't have a lot of those left, that we hadn't used in quite a while. It was quite a workout. Up and down stairs, packing boxes, going to the dump. We spent a lot of money getting rid of garbage, like probably several $100s.
donating stuff to
Donating to Value
charity.
Village, to charities, to other places, giving stuff away to people that we know, having them traipse through here safely. There was a rule. I told the ladies that are a part of my art journaling group, they had to be double vaxxed and wear their mask when they came here. And they did, and they were. So that was okay. We're fine with all of that. But and that was for their safety as well as ours as well. So yeah, that was a lot of work, to the point where I'm itching to get back to doing some sewing. I haven't been able to sew in 2 weeks because nothing was hooked up with it. So get back to my Christmas projects and everything. So yeah, apprehensions? No. And I'm pretty confident that we've bought a quality product, and we do have Tracy as
We
well.
do have support.
We have support. This is not something like after sales. I mean, there's a place somewhere out west. I'm not going to say its name because I don't know this for sure. But somebody that I know who lives out in Alberta, the big representative for APQS out there, she seemed to feel that their after sales, once they sold it to you, they didn't want to have anything to do with you again. That's not good. That's kind of like car salesmen, you know? Same thing. Once it's off the lot, you're on your own, buddy. So I know with Tracy, that is not the case. And also, I think with APQS themselves, I have a feeling if you have a problem and you contact them directly, and you can, and I have all their numbers for all their departments because they sent that to me as well, I think they're very, very much into customer support. So I'm not apprehensive about that either. And that's what I want was next on my thing, after sales support, what we know at this moment. So we'll see how that all works out. Hopefully we won't have any major problems. But I have this bad luck with machines. I love them, but they sometimes hate me for some reason. So one question that we have been asked. So with this big expense, are you going to start a business? Are you going to do quilting for people and that kind of thing, or rent out your machine to people? And the answer to that is no, we are not. We did not buy this machine to start a business. And there's several reasons why. One, we're not experienced free motion quilters on something like this. So there's no way that I could possibly, or either one of us could possibly quilt at this point in time somebody else's quilt for money. Because, you know, if people are paying you, they expect perfection. Well, we're not going to be perfect. Not even close on that. Two, I don't want strangers coming into my house and using my equipment, because that's wear and tear on my equipment. That's why Tracy makes you, before you rent her equipment, take a course with her about how to do the basics, to set it up and all that stuff. Because you don't want someone coming in and wrecking your machine with it. So no, we are not going to have a business. But you know, a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm sorry, but I am going to be sexist here. These comments have all come from women. Every one of these have come from women. And I think these ladies need to justify the purchase of a machine like this. And the way they justify it is you get it to pay for itself. Now, there are people out there that say, oh yeah, you can make these machines pay for themselves. And you will hear some people talk about, like, if they're selling you a machine, oh, well, it'll pay for itself in 2 years. You can do quilting. And some people do that. And
yeah,
that's
but
fine.
the thing is for us, it's a hobby, right? Well, more so for you than for me. I haven't done the quilting part much. But it's a hobby. But once you make it into a business,
Then
becomes
it's not
work.
fun anymore. It's work. And you can watch lots of YouTube videos on there where people talk about going into the long arm business, and they will tell you that.
Yeah, like I started watching one last night. I can't remember the name of it, but I said initially the pros and cons of buying a long arm machine.
Yeah, I reviewed her thing this past week.
No, not the one that.
Oh, you're not talking about
the one that no.
Lorena? Lorenza?
Not her. There's another lady. Well, the first 15 minutes of it, she talked about her background, and she talked about her kids, and she talked about after buying this long arm machine, all she was doing was quilts for other people, and that she doesn't have time to do her own quilts anymore.
Yeah.
And actually, I turned off the video because she wasn't really going through the pros and cons. She was just going through what she did with it. And
keep talking. Tell them that. I think that's an Amazon order.
Yeah. So anyway, so I turned off the video because she wasn't really going through what the pros and cons were. She was just more or less talking about what she did to justify to buy her long arm machine, and that was and the way she said she paid for it in a couple of years because she started doing quilting for other people. And yeah, well, that to me is a business, and that's work now.
Yeah,
I'm retired. I don't want to work.
No. This is a big, expensive toy.
And I mean, it's like going to Australia and spending $30,000. Can you really justify it? Because I mean, we saw lots of stuff, but you don't have anything concrete when you come home other than pictures, right? Of your travels.
Yes.
Right? So we've got a big machine that costs a lot of money. So if you can figure out each quilt that you're doing is going to cost a lot of money because of the machine. But what the hell? Like, I mean, why do any people buy anything? Like, I mean, some people buy great big huge TV sets that cost $10,000. And
well, I don't believe in having to justify anything that I buy. If I want it, my justification is I want it. I don't have to rationalize why I buy things with it. But you know, a lot of people do. And also, okay, you want to look at it another way? Cost per quilt on the machine. My first quilt that'll be done on this machine will have cost $22,000. The second quilt will cost $11,000. The third quilt, you get the point I'm saying, but I'm not really thinking in those terms at all. And maybe down the road, as we get better at it and everything and experience with it, maybe someday we might invest in the computer component. Maybe. I don't know. I said that from the beginning when I knew nothing about these machines because I thought, oh, it's like an embroidery machine. You get there and you watch it and it does its thing. Well, I think the novelty of that wears off pretty soon with it. And like I said, $10,000 more? No.
I could see it if you were running it as a business.
Yes, you probably want
that. And that's where this table size came in too, because we decided to get a 10-foot table as opposed to a 12-foot table. A 12-foot table, you can do king size quilts on it, but not on a 10-foot table. And so one of the things that Tracy asked us was, are you going to be using it as a business? Yeah. And she basically said, well, if you want to use it as a business, you really kind of need a 12-foot
because you might get king size quilts. But I have never made a king size quilt. I do not intend to make a king size quilt. In fact, lately any quilts that I make are not even queen size. They're full size or that kind of thing. But as Tracy pointed out, and Walter's already said it, if for some reason I made a king size quilt, I'll go down to Tracy's. And by then, I will know how to use the long arm properly, so I won't be as intimidated. I can go in, rent the time, slap it on, away I go, and get it done. But I don't see myself doing a king size for any reason. And if somebody comes to me and says they want a king size quilt, I'll say, good, find somebody else to do it. Because making a king size quilt anyways, it's not just a question of quilting it. It's a question of putting the pieces together. It's big. It's a king size. It's going to take you a while with that. And I don't know if I want to make something that big. I'll get too bored too quickly through that. So yes, we are not starting a business at all with this. So that means that Monday it comes, new adventure, putting it all together. And then after that, it's the adventure of learning how to use it, which will take us some time. But we're ready. We're ready for it. We're getting this. I'm excited about it. I'm shocked at how fast. I mean, I just checked today they sent me a tracking. It's on its way from Chicago to Toronto right now as we speak. Like, I can't believe the speed of this. And according to Tracy, this is a little unusual. She said she didn't expect it to get it that fast either. So guess we hit it at the right time. I guess it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's all meant to be. So yeah, that's the story for this week on the long arm. We'll keep you up to date on more things, and that's enough going on about it for now. So we'll end this. Don't forget about the retreat, September 24th, September 25th. Check it out. The links are in the show notes. And I'll try to remember to put Tracy's link for Whirls and Swirls for YouTube in the show notes today as well for you. So, hope you have a good week. Thanks for joining us for this very long story about our long arm adventure. To be continued. So, have a good one. We'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.